I've been dead for a year, and Carl still thinks I'm traveling abroad. He only cares about his goddess, Ruby, giving her all his resources. In just 3 years, Ruby transformed from an insignificant actress to a top star in the entertainment industry. As for me, he only remembers the last thing I said to him. Carl, I'm going on a trip, and I'll be gone for a long, long time. Given how he's ignored me, I thought it would take him a long time to find out about my death. Unexpectedly, a male journalist uncovered the news of my death. Chapter 1. At a fan meeting where Carl accompanied Ruby, a male journalist asked sharply, "Mr. Smith, your wife Sherry has been dead for a year. Have you ever thought about her?" From above, I saw Carl's expression turn strange in an instant. "What did you say?" His tone was intimidating. I said, "Your wife has been dead for a year." Carl interrupted him, his face darkening. "Where did you hear that? When did Sherry die?" The journalist was stunned. "Mr. Smith, don't you know your wife died of a heart attack?" The entire audience was shocked. Yes, except for my closest family, no one knew I had died a year ago. Ruby's manager stepped forward. "Everyone, please stay on topic. Today is Miss Ruby's fan meeting." I saw Carl quickly step off the stage and walk to Eden, his assistant. Phone. "He's going to call me." Chapter 2. I floated over immediately and saw him frantically searching his contacts. Unfortunately, he couldn't find my number because he had blocked and deleted me. He tried to search my name in the search bar. "Sherry." Nothing. His fingers trembled as he typed in "crazy woman." Still nothing. I only found out then that he had saved my contact as "crazy woman." Eden, his assistant, retrieved my number from her phone and handed it over. "President Carl, this is Madam's phone number." He took it and immediately dialed, "But I'm dead, and the number has long been cancelled and reassigned." "Sherry." He sounded desperate. But the person who answered wasn't me. She kindly informed him that she bought the number 6 months ago, and the previous owner had cancelled it. I saw his hand trembling as he held the phone. Chapter 3. I floated around him, sighing. What's wrong with him? Could he be so sad that he's happy? I'm really dead, just like he once told me. Humph, Sherry, don't worry. If you really died, I wouldn't be sad because I'd finally be free. A reporter pushed past security and rushed inside. "Mr. Smith, as Sherry's husband, is this really the first time you're hearing about her passing? Why is that? Does it mean that you two had no feelings for each other and didn't even know about the other's death? There have been rumors that the person you love most is actually our top star, Ruby. Is that true?" The journalists were shocked to hear about the death of the president's wife from Smith Group. But the male journalist produced my death certificate and a photo of my tombstone at Peaceful Garden. They had no choice but to believe the news of the death of the Smith Group president's wife, the daughter of the Jones family. Chapter 4. Carl left the press conference early, escorted by bodyguards. He's going to the Jones house? I floated behind his car. When he arrived, the Jones house's gates were tightly closed. I easily floated inside, but he was stopped outside. He wants to ask my parents to confirm that I'm really dead? He rang the doorbell, and Aunt Alice came out, glanced at him, then went back inside with a dark expression. I knew Aunt Alice hated him. She had seen Carl leave me while I had a fever to answer Ruby's call. I quickly floated to the inner room and saw her reporting to my dad, "Carl is here, outside the gate." As expected, my dad refused to open the door or acknowledge Carl, not even caring why he came. I sat on the sofa for a while, my dad still wearing a grim expression as he read his newspaper. Chapter 5. When I got bored, I floated back outside to check if Carl had left. Under the scorching sun, he stood rigid, still not leaving. Since when could he withstand the heat like this? Why isn't he leaving? Eden, his assistant, took a call and walked over to Carl. "President Carl, I've confirmed it. Madam indeed died of a heart attack a year ago and was buried in Peaceful Garden. The Jones family handled it, keeping it private and hidden from the public." Carl covered his face. "She told me she was going abroad for a long, long time. I remember every word she said." Eden paused before speaking. "There's no record of Madam going abroad. Maybe that was just an excuse. Perhaps she knew she didn't have much time left, or maybe she loved you too much. While you were with Ruby. I don't know why, but she chose to leave this world quietly." Carl stood outside the Jones house until nightfall, and I floated with him the entire time. Chapter 6. No one from the mansion came out to see Carl. President Carl, shall we keep waiting? Let's go home. Carl turned around and got in the car. I followed and sat beside him. But I'm a ghost, he can't see me. Eden turned back to confirm, President Carl, did you just say home? Do you mean Sherry and Carl's Haven? I was surprised, Sherry and Carl's Haven? Sherry and Carl's Haven is our marital home, named by me. But since our wedding, I lived there alone, as Carl rarely returned, mostly staying in hotels. Buzz, buzz. Carl's phone rang. I leaned over to see it was Ruby calling. He pinched the bridge of his nose and answered the call. Ruby's concern came first. Carl, aren't you staying at the hotel tonight? You should rest early, I'm still busy. Is it true about Sherry's death? You should rest now. Where will you stay tonight? I can come over and keep you company. Ruby softened her tone. No need, I'm hanging up. Carl ended the call, and I stared at him, stunned. This seemed to be the first time I saw Carl hang up on Ruby. I remembered the day I had a fever, and Carl rarely stayed home to take care of me. That day, I was in so much pain, but my heart felt happy. However, midway through, Ruby called, crying and wailing. Carl, I'm lost, and someone is following me. I'm so scared, please come and get me. Honey, don't go. I feel so bad too. I mumbled, reaching out in my daze, but grabbed nothing. He had already grabbed his coat and was striding out the door. Where are you? I'm coming right away, don't hang up. I vaguely recalled. Chapter 7. Carl replied, yes, Sherry and Carl's Haven. At the doorstep, Carl pressed his fingerprint, and the door chimed open, but he closed his eyes and gripped the handle, not entering immediately. I floated in first, and he only came in after opening the door. The house no longer had any traces of our past life together, it was covered in dust. I sneezed. It seemed Carl hadn't returned in a year. Carl looked around and then headed to the bedroom. Huh? What is he doing in the bedroom? I immediately followed. Chapter 8. The bedroom was still arranged as I left it, but everything was covered in a layer of dust. What was Carl looking at? I floated over, he was staring blankly at the half-empty wardrobe. Only his neatly arranged clothes remained in the wardrobe. I had packed and taken all my clothes. Actually, I had taken everything I could from this house that belonged to me. Our failed marriage made me want to erase every trace of myself from his life. I remembered our last meeting. I had packed my bags, and Carl rarely came home to get something. Where are you going? He came back, put a few clothes in his suitcase, and was about to leave. Just taking some changes of clothes. Oh. I visibly felt down, but I was used to this scene by then. I still couldn't suppress my sadness. He didn't care about me at all. Even though I had packed my suitcase and left it in the wardrobe, he didn't notice I was leaving. When will you come back? The next time he came back, I wouldn't be here, not in this place, not in this world. Before that, the hospital had already diagnosed my heart condition as uncontrollable, with death imminent. He looked at me coldly. I think I won't need to come back here anymore. I was stunned for a moment. Finally, I responded softly, oh. He had already picked up his suitcase and reached the door. He stood there for a while, not leaving, and I was puzzled. He spoke first, this time, you didn't ask about Ruby? I thought for a moment. There's nothing to ask. It doesn't matter to me anymore. He looked back, somewhat surprised. You're different this time. For once, we looked each other in the eyes. Maybe because I didn't act like a childish woman asking about Ruby, his gaze was unexpectedly gentle. I smiled lightly, Carl, I'm going on a trip for a long, long time. He was taken aback for a moment. All right, it's good for you to get out and see the world. Have a nice trip. As a couple, he didn't ask where I was going or say he'd go with me. He just wished me a nice trip. I should have felt terrible, but surprisingly, I accepted it calmly that day. An hour after he left, I left the divorce agreement and wedding ring on the coffee table and locked up as I left. In the car back to the Jones house, I couldn't help but cry, painful sobs spilling from my throat. From childhood, I was stubborn about my choices. After falling for Carl, I never thought I'd one day fall out of love and give up. Unfortunately, this marriage ended in utter failure. Chapter 9. Carl left the wardrobe and looked at my empty vanity table. As if not believing his eyes, he opened the small drawers, but there was nothing inside. He even checked the bathroom, finding no trace of my belongings. Hey, she took everything. He came out and looked at the headboard, stopping. What was he looking at? There was nothing on the headboard. As I was puzzled, he let out a grunt. Even your prized wedding photo is gone. Seems like you planned this long ago. Suddenly, he punched the wall, the impact causing his skin to split. I floated back in fright. I looked at him, confused about what he was doing. I thought he'd leave quickly after seeing this, but he sat down on the dusty bed and lay down. Time ticked by, he closed his eyes and fell asleep without even covering himself. Chapter 10. He was awakened by a phone call, Ruby again. Carl slowly opened his eyes, tiredly bringing the phone to his ear. On the other end, Ruby whined in a coquettish tone. Carl, I can't sleep. Will you come and keep me company? Carl let out a heavy sigh. Ruby, I'm really tired today, don't make a fuss. Ruby's tone became more cautious. Is it work-related, or because of Sherry? If you can't sleep, have Penny chat with you for a while. If it's not urgent, don't call me. Before Ruby could say more, Carl hung up. He raised his hand to look at it, the blood had already scabbed over. As if he remembered something, he suddenly got up and went to the living room. My heart also skipped a beat as I followed him. He must have remembered the divorce agreement on the coffee table. Sure enough, he scanned the living room, went to the coffee table, and picked up the divorce agreement. As he flipped through it, his hand tightened its grip. But I hadn't asked for anything, just took my personal belongings. He once said, Sherry, since you don't know how to repent, I've frozen that card. Whenever you repent, I'll reactivate it. For a while after our marriage, to get his attention, I had used his card vindictively. The reason for freezing the card wasn't how much I spent, but because he punished me by slapping Ruby and refusing to apologize. That day, I was looking at a bag in the mall when the scent of a limited edition perfume wafted by. Ruby, a new bag just arrived. Want to take a look? I want the one she's holding. I turned around, and Ruby, wearing sunglasses, was pointing at the handbag in my hand. Seeing her determined and smug expression, I turned back and pushed the bag towards the sales clerk. Wrap this up for me, please. I want it. The clerk glanced at the tension between us, feeling awkward. She started packing the bag for me since I had picked it first. Ruby didn't give up, flicking her hair. Are you sure you want to lose me as a major customer? Ruby, we'll contact other counters right away to get one for you. Please wait a moment. Sherry did pick this one first. The clerk remained firm. Ruby looked at me, her eyes filled with rage and embarrassment. Even if you buy the bag, do you have anyone to shop with you? No, Carl doesn't go home to stay with you. Have you thought about who he's staying with when he doesn't come home? Do you naively think he's staying alone in a hotel? Ask around in the entertainment circle, who do you think backs me up? Ruby's victorious stance that day pierced through me like a sharp blade. But I stepped closer to her, smiling. Have you figured out why I'm still in this marriage? Do I still love him? Wrong, it's to keep you from becoming Mrs. Smith. I saw the shock in Ruby's eyes. You're despicable. Ruby raised her hand to hit me, but I caught it first and slapped her before walking away. Ruby quickly told Carl about me slapping her. Go apologize to Ruby. That night, the bedroom was dark. Carl came back, a cigarette between his fingers, glowing in the darkness. My heart was already shattered. Sitting on the edge of the bed, staring into the night, I spoke softly. If you want an apology, you go apologize. I don't think I did anything wrong. If you believe I did something wrong, you, as my husband, can apologize on my behalf. I saw his cigarette tremble, a sign he was angry. We were at an impasse for a few minutes until he finished his cigarette and checked his phone. Another 200,000 spent today? Since you won't apologize, the card is frozen. Apologize, and I'll reactivate it. I said nothing, my heart was numb. He never understood why I suddenly started spending his money. Did I really love his money? I grew up with a silver spoon in my mouth. I lacked many things, but money wasn't one of them. Spending his money vindictively was just to get his attention. Chapter 11. In the second semester of our senior year, Ruby followed a music prodigy abroad. Carl got drunk in a bar, and I, worried about him, went to find him. That night, he, drunk, dragged me to a hotel. Carl, I'm not Ruby, I'm Sherry. Look closely. I know, Ruby is gone, and she won't come back. I also know. I know you're Sherry. Sherry, don't refuse me, please. A night of chaos ensued. The next day, he saw the stain on the sheets and held my trembling body. Believe me, I'll take responsibility. We'll get married after graduation. I gradually calmed down, sniffed, and smiled up at him. All right, then I want to be the most beautiful bride. Carl could sense my crush on him. He flicked my forehead gently. Fool. 3 months later, I finally had my wedding. With our families being well matched, the preparations went smoothly. The wedding was warm and heartfelt. But the warmth didn't last long. A month later, Ruby broke up with the music prodigy and returned home. Ruby, dragging a suitcase, stood alone at the door of Sherry and Carl's haven. Carl, I'm back. Ruby threw herself into Carl's arms, crying, and Carl, stunned, didn't push her away. It turned out the music prodigy had gotten addicted to drugs abroad, his personality changed, his life became chaotic, and he even got a local girlfriend. Ruby was cheated on. Chapter 12. Carl put down the divorce agreement and looked at the velvet box on the coffee table. He opened it, and his eyes flashed with surprise. Inside were our wedding rings, tightly clenched in his trembling hand. Eden, the assistant, came in with lunch and saw this scene, approaching cautiously. President Carl. Look into that male reporter. I was also curious about the male reporter's background. How did he know about my death unless he investigated it specifically? By midnight, Eden had found out. The reporter is Bill's cousin. That's right. Hearing Bill's name, I was surprised too. He was Carl's business competitor. It all made sense now. Bill, Carl's business rival, had his cousin release news of my death, causing Smith's company stock to plummet. Actually, there's a little-known fact, Bill and I were high school classmates, and I once rode my bike to take him to the hospital. He had been beaten up by a group, and his eyes were swollen shut. That day, on a whim, I decided to ride my newly learned bike home and stumbled upon the beating. Stepping in to help, I shouted, I've already called the police. The men who were beating him quickly fled. I took him to the hospital. While going downhill, my lack of skill caused us to fall. But it has been 7 or 8 years now, so he should have forgotten. Chapter 13. At the business association meeting in Haishi, Carl and Bill encountered each other. Carl was in a low mood today, drinking alone the entire time. Given his status, others saw his displeasure and didn't dare approach him. Finally, Bill, holding a glass of wine, walked over. President Carl, drinking alone? In stark contrast to Carl's low spirits, Bill was in a great mood. Let me guess, why is President Carl in a bad mood? Is it because your wife has been dead for a year and you, as her husband, only just found out, feeling very embarrassed? Carl tightened his grip on the wine glass and glanced at him. If you have something to say, spit it out and stop trying to get attention from me. Looks like my guess wasn't accurate. There can only be one other reason, right? Carl's murderous glare was already on Bill. Unfortunately, Bill had no intention of leaving sensibly. Is it that our President Carl has belatedly realized that the person he loves most is still his wife? After all, compared to the real Sherry, that actress Ruby is nothing. I looked at Bill in disbelief. Carl's eyes glinted coldly. It seems your company has been too comfortable recently, with some people having too much free time. Carl beckoned. Assistant Eden, Smith Company will also bid for the Longshan Wharf project. Bill's expression changed. That prime piece of the wharf, once Smith Company was involved, would be much harder for him to acquire. Chapter 14. After the business association meeting ended, Carl walked out with a dark expression. President Carl, we found out that Sherry's father is unwell, which is why he didn't attend the meeting. Keep trying to schedule a meeting with him at any time. Buzz buzz buzz. Carl's phone rang again. It was Ruby calling. Carl, where are you? I'm feeling so awful. Ruby's voice on the other end sounded very weak. What happened to you? Ruby's manager took the phone. President Carl, could you come over? Ruby fainted in the middle of filming today and hasn't eaten since waking up. If this continues, her health will collapse. I saw Carl's brow furrow. I'm on my way. Just as when I was alive, Ruby either refused to eat or claimed to be scared alone, and Carl would go to her. Carl soon arrived at Ruby's place. Ruby rushed into his arms. You finally came. I missed you so much. Thankfully, I was already dead, without emotions. Otherwise, this scene would still hurt. I floated around Ruby's villa, and when I returned, I found Carl had already pushed Ruby away. The atmosphere between them was still very cold. I've told you, I can help you establish yourself in the entertainment industry, but we are impossible. Ruby was shocked. Even with Sherry dead, we are still impossible. You clearly love me, and Sherry's death is just fate helping us be together. The moment you went abroad, my feelings for you died. You know that the past 3 years I've helped you because of the kidnapping you suffered. I felt guilty, but I've made up for it over these 3 years. Their conversation surprised me. The last time was my final appearance at your events. From now on, you walk your path alone. Ruby suddenly became very emotional. Don't forget, Sherry nearly killed me. The damage she caused me was immense. Carl's back stiffened for a moment, his fists clenched tightly. Chapter 15. Just then, Carl received a call from Assistant Eden. President Carl, the person has been brought to the company garage. I'm on my way. Who did they capture? I followed them upstairs. On the way, I found myself lost in thought. The crimes Ruby accused me of, I never committed. It's a pity Carl didn't believe me. Shortly after Ruby returned home, she was kidnapped, stripped, and had her photos taken. I will never forget the night Carl returned in a rage, drenched. He grabbed me. Sherry, how could you be so excessive? I promised you that even with Ruby back, we wouldn't divorce, yet you insist on driving her away. I was bewildered. I knew Ruby had been kidnapped because it was in the news. But I never thought Carl would suspect me. It all seemed aimed at me. The day before Ruby was kidnapped, we had a heated argument, which Ruby recorded. In the recording, I said harsh words, warning Ruby to stay away from Carl. If a third person were present, they would know that Ruby intentionally provoked me. The original conversation was, Sherry, can we have a proper talk? Initially, her tone was very humble. I was very cold. I never imagined she had a recording device in her bag. No need. We have nothing to talk about. How could we not? We both love Carl, but you got him, and I lost him. I'm so envious of you. If I hadn't gone abroad, I wouldn't have lost him. If you want to complain, you're talking to the wrong person. Ruby's tone changed, showing her true colors as she grabbed my arm to stop me from leaving. Sherry, I heard that the night I went abroad, you pretended to be me and tricked Carl into sleeping with you, then made him take responsibility. How disgusting are you? Watch your mouth. The truly disgusting person is you. You got dumped and then came back to cozy up to Carl. I'm warning you, stay away from Carl. If you ruin my marriage, I won't let you off. Humph, big words. Won't let me off. Do you believe Carl will always stand by me? The recording device didn't capture Ruby calling me disgusting or her final provocation. After Ruby was rescued, she acted like a wounded little rabbit, curling up in bed. Her manager played that recording. That incident made me realize that between Ruby and me, Carl would unhesitatingly believe Ruby. Even though the police found no evidence to prove I did it, Carl still blamed me. Our marriage took a huge hit. I loved him, but I had my dignity and pride. If he wronged me and didn't apologize, I wouldn't forgive him. Our marriage plunged into a cold war. Chapter 16. Carl arrived at the underground garage. The storage room door was opened, revealing the male reporter being restrained in a seat. They had kidnapped the male reporter. President Carl, what can't be discussed properly? The male reporter asked. Assistant Eden snorted. Some people just don't listen to reason. The male reporter bit his lip. Carl suddenly made an unbelievable statement. The Heart of the Ocean necklace, name your price. The Heart of the Ocean? Isn't that the necklace I've always wanted to buy? President Carl, I'm just a reporter. What necklace are you talking about? I've never heard of it. Assistant Eden immediately exposed his lie. Stop pretending. Do you think we didn't dig up your background? You're Bill's cousin. At the charity auction a year ago, you bought that necklace for $5 million. The reporter was stunned. About a minute later, he smirked. Haha, as expected of President Carl, you found out so quickly. Fine, I won't hide it anymore. That necklace wasn't bought by me, but by my cousin who asked me to bid on it. The necklace is with him. If you want it, you'll have to talk to him. Carl's brow furrowed instantly. As they left the garage, Assistant Eden asked. President Carl, if the necklace is with Bill, he'll definitely take advantage of this. Are you still going to buy it? Yes. Chapter 17. Carl got into the car, rolled down the window, but didn't start the engine immediately. Staring into the dark night, he lit a cigarette. The smell of smoke made me drift away a bit. Suddenly, he looked at the night sky and extinguished the cigarette. Assistant Eden watched his actions, puzzled. "President Carl, why did you put it out just after lighting it?" He murmured, "I thought of someone who doesn't like the smell of smoke." A small fragment from my memory flashed through my mind, one of the few intimate moments between us. He rubbed my brow. "Why are you frowning?" I tiptoed and hugged his waist. "The smell of smoke makes me uncomfortable. Can you smoke less in the future?" At that time, we were still preparing for the wedding, and Ruby hadn't come back yet. He patted my head and agreed immediately. "Okay." Then he put out the cigarette. Assistant Eden hesitated to speak. Carl asked, "Did you arrange a meeting with Jack?" "Yes, but he said he's not feeling well recently and doesn't want to see anyone." "Tomorrow, send the ginseng and bird's nest we have at home to him." "Yes, President Carl." "You can go home now. I'll drive back tonight." Carl started the car, and Assistant Eden bent down, looking somewhat worried. "President Carl, you look very tired." "I'm fine." With a press of the accelerator, Carl drove off. Chapter 18. The next day at noon, Carl met with Bill. Bill arrived late with a fake smile on his face. What a surprise, President Carl actively wanting to see me. Rare indeed. Carl spoke coldly, straight to the point. "I want to buy the heart of the ocean." Bill picked up the teacup, holding it between his fingers. "I like President Carl's directness, but I'm not planning to sell that necklace." Carl wasn't buying it. We businessmen know that everything can be negotiated if the price is right. Just name your price. President Carl sees things clearly, but before discussing the price, I want to know why you want to buy this necklace. It's a woman's necklace, so who are you planning to give it to? Carl's thin lips moved slightly. Naturally, to the most important person to me. Our big star, Ruby? Bill tapped the table again. So, it's not for Ruby. I heard that Sherry also wanted to buy this necklace but missed it due to some incident. Besides Sherry, I don't know anyone else who likes this necklace. I was astonished. How does Bill know so much about me? Carl squinted for a moment, questioning him. How do you know so much about Sherry? It's just that, unlike someone who never cares about his wife, I know a bit more. Carl gave Bill a deep look. You know Sherry? High school classmates. So he remembered me. Carl wanted to ask more, but Bill interrupted him. Name your price, let's see how deep your love for Sherry goes. 10 million, twice what you paid. I'll buy it. Bill clapped twice sarcastically. Haha, 10 million. So, in your eyes, your wife is worth 10 million. Carl didn't get angry but asked in return. How much do you want? It's not about the amount. I have two conditions. First, withdraw from the wharf bidding. Carl's brow twitched. Second, if my company opens a branch, Smith Company cannot open a branch within 3 kilometers. Carl's brow twitched again. Bill's conditions were harsh. If Carl agreed, the losses would be far more than a few million. It would affect Smith Company's prospects. I watched Carl intently to see his reaction. You're asking too much. For one necklace, you want me to risk Smith Company? Then I have no choice. Those are my terms. If President Carl doesn't agree, you can leave. The two were at an impasse. I wondered why Carl hadn't left yet. Would he stay and agree to these terms? I floated in the air, waiting quietly for the outcome. Assistant Eden stepped forward. President Bill, if you think 10 million isn't enough, how about 20 million? Keeping the necklace, even if you sell it to someone else, it won't fetch more than 10 million. Those are the only two conditions, nothing else to discuss. Carl suddenly spoke up. Fine, I agree. Did you bring the necklace? Carl agreed to Bill's outrageous terms. Everyone in the room was stunned, including me. Assistant Eden was shocked and reminded, President Carl, you can't agree to this. Bill was also taken aback. Are you sure you want to agree? Draft the agreement now. I need to see the necklace when we sign. Bill's expression suddenly turned sour, even a bit regretful. He didn't want to sell the necklace. Is it really worth it for a necklace? I know whether it's worth it or not. After the agreement was signed, Carl took the necklace. I gave Bill a puzzled look and followed Carl out. From behind, Bill's voice called out. One last question, is this necklace for Sherry? I stopped too, curious about this question. Was it really for me? It seemed impossible. I thought Carl wouldn't answer. But Carl did. You already know the answer. My ethereal body wavered slightly. After my death, Carl gambled Smith Company's future to buy a necklace for me. Chapter 19. I floated after Carl and saw my dad enter the hospital across the road. My dad had always had liver problems, and I became very worried, floating into the hospital. President Jack, the condition of your liver is not optimistic. You need to be hospitalized for rest and await a suitable liver donor. I was deeply shocked. My dad's condition had worsened to the point of needing a liver transplant. Prescribed some painkillers for me to take home. I won't stay in the hospital. President Jack. No need to say more. I opened my mouth to persuade him to stay in the hospital, but he couldn't hear me. I could only watch as my dad stubbornly left the hospital with his driver. Late at night, after my dad had gone to bed, I floated out of the Jones house, drifting aimlessly like a rootless plant. I knew that if a liver donor couldn't be found, my dad and I would meet underground soon. I floated back to Sherry and Carl's haven and saw the small bar light on. Floating inside, I found Carl drinking alone. A bottle of 82 Lafite was nearly empty. He lay on the counter, drunk, his face flushed. Beside his hand was the box containing the heart of the ocean necklace he bought from Bill. He lay on the counter, muttering something. I moved closer and faintly heard 2 words. Sherry, Sherry. He had been calling my name all along. For several days, Carl came back at night to drink at the bar and went to work during the day. Chapter 20. President Carl, you can't keep pushing yourself like this. You haven't rested properly for a month. I'm fine. I'll go home after reviewing this report. Carl returned to Sherry and Carl's haven at 11 o'clock at night. Opening the door, he found Ruby sitting there, dressed in a cool camisole. The assistant immediately retreated. Ruby stood up and softly said, Carl, you're finally back. I finished filming and came back. As soon as Ruby touched Carl, he removed her hand. Carl squinted slightly. How did you get in? I asked the property management to open the door. They have your spare key. Put on your clothes and leave. No, I'm not leaving tonight. Sherry is dead. Why do you still come back to this empty house? Carl's face darkened. Don't make me despise you. You despise me? I'm not leaving. I will be the mistress of this house from now on. Who was Sherry anyway? If she hadn't shamelessly climbed into your bed, would you have married her? You clearly have feelings for me. And what about you? A good horse doesn't go back to the same pasture. What makes you think I'd want you back? Assistant Eden, escort her out. Assistant Eden entered, picked up Ruby's handbag, and handed it to her. Let's go, Ruby. I said, I'm not leaving. Ruby slapped her hand down, knocking the handbag to the floor. As the contents spilled out, among the cosmetics was a clear bag of green pills that fell at Carl's feet. Ruby suddenly panicked, immediately bending down to pick them up. What is this? Carl picked up the small bag before she could, glaring at her. Ruby snatched it back and hid it behind her. Nothing, it's nothing. Carl stared at her. Ruby's eyes darted around, avoiding Carl's gaze. I have a new drama premiere tomorrow morning. I'll leave now. The determined Ruby quickly fled. Assistant Eden regained his composure. President Carl, those pills are illegal substances. Why would Ruby have them? Carl called Ruby. Quit now if you don't want to die. Ruby still wouldn't admit it. Quit what? Those are just regular pills, Carl. You're overthinking it. Fine, you've made your choice. I hope you're ready to face the consequences. Chapter 21. Carl's requests to meet my dad were all refused. The gifts he sent were all thrown out. It was at a business banquet that my dad attended where Carl finally saw him. In the lounge, my dad was resting with his eyes closed. Carl entered, and my dad sensed it. President Carl, what do you want? Dad. Who's your dad? Don't call me that, President Carl. I can't afford it. I know you don't want to see me, but I sincerely wanted to meet you. Humph. You must be wondering why you weren't informed of Sherry's passing. You want to say that as her husband, you had the right to know. We shouldn't have kept it from you. Because I have no right to ask. My dad opened his eyes, stunned for a moment. Carl's response surprised him. My dad was still waiting for Carl to say, yes, you should have informed me about Sherry's death, so he could harshly criticize Carl, asking who gave him the right to be informed. Dad, I want Sherry's last video recording. Can I get a copy? How did he know about the recordings of my final days? But I refused to let Carl have a copy of the video. He had wronged me in life, there was no need to bother me in death. My dad was also puzzled. How did you know about this recording? I found the nurse who was taking care of Sherry. She said you took the video. There was a camera in the hospital room where I stayed, recording my last moments. Humph, give it to you? So you can laugh at Sherry, who loved you deeply, but ended up dying miserably. Carl's eyes were full of sincerity. I got closer and saw it didn't seem fake. No, whether you believe it or not, I want this video because I miss her so much. My dad laughed angrily. What a joke. You miss Sherry? That's the biggest joke I've heard in my life. I'll give you the video. Watch carefully how your wife, while you were entangled with Ruby, curled up in pain on her hospital bed, enduring the torment. I didn't expect my dad to agree to Carl's request. He shouldn't have agreed. I wanted to stop it, but I couldn't. President Jack, are you going back now? Your body can't take it, and who knows when the hospital will find a matching liver? At the door, Carl turned his head. Chapter 22. One day, the police department of the Geelong district in Haishi arrested a suspect. Carl received a call from the police early in the morning. After hearing the news, his face turned pale, and the glass he was holding shattered in his hand, blood covering the shards. The assistant was frightened. President Carl, what did they say on the phone? The next day, a trending topic exploded in the entertainment industry. Ruby had been arrested for drug use, and the police announcement confirmed the news. Within a day, all of Ruby's works were taken offline, and her personal image collapsed, causing a huge stir. Ruby's agent went to Carl. President Carl, please help Ruby this time. If you don't help her, she's finished. Carl stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, dark clouds gathering outside. Carl didn't turn around. You came at the right time. Accompany me to see someone first. Are they here? They're at the door, President Carl. I'll bring them in. Ruby's agent suddenly felt uneasy. See. Who? Soon, two police officers in black uniforms entered. Hello, President Carl. We are officers from the 3rd District Police Department. We are here regarding the Ruby kidnapping case from 3 years ago. We once suspected your wife Sherry was the mastermind. 3 days ago, we arrested the kidnapper, who confessed that it was Ruby's agent who hired him and deliberately led the investigation to your wife. It was extremely malicious. Carl's sharp gaze shot toward Penny. What do you have to say? Penny's face had changed long ago. She didn't expect that seeking Carl's help for Ruby would get herself involved. The two officers already had Penny in custody. Penny, you can't explain it here. Come with us to the police station. We'll have a good talk. Penny's legs had gone weak. Ruby was the mastermind. I just helped her find someone. Officers, you must investigate clearly. Chapter 23. I floated all the way to Anne Garden, ready to lie back in my tombstone for a rest. From a distance, I saw a man sleeping in front of my grave. Who got drunk and ended up in the cemetery? I floated closer and found it was Carl. He had fallen asleep holding my tombstone, with 2 velvet boxes placed before it. I recognized one as my wedding ring box and the other as the Heart of the Ocean jewelry box. I stared at him in amazement. Was he refusing to take back the wedding ring, insisting that I wear it even in death? And looking at the Heart of the Ocean box, he made such a huge loss just to get me the necklace I liked. If all this had happened while I was alive, no one would doubt his love for me. I lay in my tombstone for a night, and when I woke up, Carl hadn't left. I saw him bend down and kiss the name on my tombstone. Sherry, I'm going to work. I'll come back to accompany you tonight. For several days, I floated back to rest at night, and Carl slept by my tombstone. Chapter 24. 3 months later, my dad's liver condition worsened, and he was rushed to the hospital. I was worried. Floating above, the only thing I could do was pray they found a suitable liver donor in time for my dad to have a transplant. My dad stayed in the hospital for a month, and I floated around the hospital for a month. Finally, we received good news that a matching liver had been found, and the surgery was scheduled for next week. We were overjoyed. Doctor, is the kind donor in the hospital? If so, Kevin, take me to personally thank them. The attending doctor shook his head. President Jack, I'm sorry, but the donor requested to remain anonymous. We can't tell you who they are. Anonymous? We were all surprised. Chapter 25. My dad's liver transplant was successful. After a month of recuperation in the hospital, his complexion improved daily. This allowed me to breathe a sigh of relief. President Jack, the doctor said you're improving every day. After staying a bit longer, you can be discharged. I can feel it too. Kevin, today for lunch, no more porridge. I need rice. How can I regain my strength with porridge every day? Uncle Kevin, who was caring for my dad, slapped his thigh. Haha, all right, we should have had rice long ago. It was only because you said you had no appetite that I kept making porridge every day. In the ward, my dad's laughter gradually increased. I was deeply gratified. Chapter 26. On the night of March 6, there was a car accident in the city center. The ward's TV was broadcasting the news. This is Haishi Evening News. Just now, a car accident occurred in the city center. A silver Porsche hit the guardrail, the front severely damaged. Preliminary identification confirms the driver as Carl, president of Smith Group. Currently, Carl's condition is unknown. I suddenly turned and saw the scene where Carl, covered in blood, was carried out and taken to an ambulance. 10 minutes later, Carl was sent to the 3rd hospital's operating room. I hurriedly floated to his operating room. Carl lay on the bed, his lips purple, face pale. After half an hour of resuscitation, Carl's face grew paler. The chief surgeon looked up at his colleagues in the room. The patient is not going to make it. 3 months ago, he had a liver transplant, removing most of his liver for donation. The previous liver transplant was not good, the incision got infected, and now with this car accident, there's severe internal bleeding. Vice Chief Surgeon looked at the red beeping instrument beside him. The patient's will to live is very weak. Or rather, he has given up on surviving. Liver transplant, Carl had a liver transplant. No wonder there were over 200 stitches on his lower and side waist. Carl had a liver transplant, and someone anonymously donated a portion of their liver to my dad. Putting 2 and 2 together, I suddenly understood. It turns out that the anonymous donor who gave part of their liver to my dad was Carl. Not good, the patient's breathing is getting weaker. His lips are moving, is he trying to say something? The chief surgeon and I leaned closer to Carl's lips. Sherry. Honey. The chief surgeon raised his head in shock. He's saying his wife's name. But his wife has already passed away. He's still speaking. The chief surgeon immediately bent down again to listen. Director Jeff, what did he say? The chief surgeon looked at everyone, shook his head, and walked out of the operating room. Meanwhile, Carl's heart stopped beating. The chief surgeon stopped at the door. His last words were, "Honey, I'm coming to join you."
Chapter 27. Bill's perspective. In high school, I was always doing my own thing, cool and aloof. Until one summer in senior year, 4 thugs surrounded me on my way home. One of them I recognized. On the school's basketball court, he had been all sneaky moves, but I still beat him like a dog. He couldn't accept the loss and gritted his teeth, saying, "Kid, wait for me." I flipped him off and walked away. That weekend, after leaving my best friend's place where we had been gaming, this jerk brought 3 street thugs and waited at the alley entrance. The tallest guy threw away his cigarette, picked up an iron rod from behind him, and said, "Kid, you bullied my brother at school?" I had to pass through the alley to get out. It looked like a fight was inevitable. I threw my backpack down, and as the guy swung the rod at me, I rushed in with a flying kick. In the end, I was caught by a 300-pound fatty and beaten black and blue. Only then did the jerk stand in front of me, sneering sinisterly. "Painful, huh? Kneel and kowtow to me, and I'll let you go." I spat, "In your dreams." As soon as I said it, I got punched in the face. Through my squinted eyes, I saw a girl at the alley entrance. Clearly, she was scared by the scene. Sure enough, she rode her bike away quickly, but surprisingly, she came back within seconds with a cell phone in hand. I just called the police. "Let him go." One of the thugs, gritting his teeth, grabbed a long stick and went to her. "You damn busybody, looking to die." Her face turned white with fear, but luckily, the sound of police sirens made the thugs flee. I lay on the ground, panting, feeling like my organs had shifted, and one eye was so swollen it was just a slit. She came over, squatted down, and looked at me. "I'll call an ambulance to take you to the hospital." "No need, it's not that serious." She was puzzled. "Not that serious?" "Anyway, don't call an ambulance. If I have to go, I'll go to the hospital myself. I never liked making a fuss." "Then I'll give you a ride." She obediently didn't call an ambulance but instead brought her bike over, offering to take me to the hospital. Watching her unfamiliar riding skills, I wondered if she could manage. I suddenly found it amusing. "All right." She helped me up, then took out a fragrant tissue to wipe the blood from my mouth. I stared into her watery eyes, my mind blank. I knew she was from our school because she wore our ugly uniform, which, on her, looked surprisingly good. Maybe it was just because she was naturally pretty with her fair skin and straight nose. "Hold on tight." After wiping my mouth, she got on the bike and motioned for me to sit. I sat, and she struggled to start. It was clear she was trying hard to keep the bike steady. "You can go slower, no rush." She admitted, "I didn't actually call the police. I was afraid they'd come back. My phone is dead." "Oh. Weren't you scared they'd beat you too? Anyone else would have stayed away." "Yes, but I still had to come back. From a young age, teachers told us to uphold the spirit of justice." She said this with such righteousness. The weather was actually nice that day, sunny with a breeze. Her ponytail blew in the wind, brushing against my face, tickling slightly. "When did you learn to ride a bike?" "Today was the first time I dared to ride alone." "Could you tell?" She seemed a bit unsure. "Maybe we should take a taxi to the hospital. I'm afraid I'll crash you." I laughed. "It's fine, I'm not afraid of falling." I shouldn't have said that. Just after I did, it came true. On a downhill, the bike lost control, and we both fell. Fortunately, I managed to catch her, acting as a human cushion. "Ouch." She was very apologetic, seeing that she fell on me and felt even more guilty. "Are you okay?" "Sorry, my biking skills are really bad." "I'm fine. What about you?" Actually, the fall should have been quite painful. My waist hit the curb, but I didn't feel any pain then. She insisted on taking a taxi to the hospital afterward, and I agreed, not wanting her to fall again. At the hospital, she registered for me and waited until my checkup was done before leaving. I stayed in the hospital for 2 days to reduce swelling, then returned to school. I searched for her in the school. Our grade had 29 classes, making it difficult to find one person. Luckily, I eventually spotted her. She was in class 9, named Sherry, excellent in both character and academics, the teacher's favorite. I was a slacker, sleeping in class, playing basketball after class, and gaming after school. My place in this top school was thanks to my dad's annual donations. After the college entrance exam, I went abroad. There, I curbed my playful nature and began to work hard, determined to meet her again. Fate played a huge joke on me. The day I was ready to return home was the day she married the Smith Group heir. That day, she was stunning. I had never seen such a beautiful bride. That night, I got wasted at a bar. A friend asked me what happened. I said, my angel had been taken away by someone else. Years later, during a business interview, the final segment featured a question from an online fan. President Bill, on behalf of a fan, I'd like to ask, now that your company is listed and your career has soared, do you have any regrets in life? Yes. The host was surprised. Can you share what kind of regret it is? I regret not crashing the wedding and taking my angel away.